Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I'm Nate Otto, the board president for this year. We are a religious community who commit ourselves to diversity. We hope to nourish human differences, those of gender, race, age, ability, sexual orientation, political views, culture, class, and religious belief. We welcome to all who treasure freedom of conscience and the search for truth. We promise to do our best to provide you a spiritual home. We extend a special welcome to our visitors today. We hope you follow our Facebook page. To participate in Zoom and receive announcements about special events and our religious exploration classes, please sign up for our weekly email. There should be a link in the comments section on our Facebook page where you can sign up. We're glad you can join us today.
Good morning, I'm Patty Cleary. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm here on behalf of the Harvest Auction Committee. We are super excited to have to be planning out the online auction this year. It will take place on Saturday, November 13th, and the Harvest Auction silent auction part is going to start the week before. So bidding can begin on Saturday, November 6th. So that means that we're trying to get donations in for this month. The deadline where we want you to give us those the donations is October 24th. And so you can fill out a donation form. We've got some in the order of service. We've got a place to put them in the back here. You can also do that online, and you can navigate to the Harvest Auction site through the UUC website. A new thing that we're doing this year is we are having sponsorships. So if you're going to be out of town, or you have just decluttered and you are living your minimalist lifestyle now, and you don't need any more things, but you want to still contribute, you can just become a sponsor of the event. And we're also accepting things to put into baskets. So if you have some unused new items or some handmade items, we will be receiving those. So we're very excited for this online event this year, and we're looking forward to seeing all of the brilliance that you guys can bring to this event. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. I can't hear you if you're on Zoom or Facebook, but I'll just pretend, okay? I'm the Reverend Julianne Lepp. It's great to be here and to see faces and to know that we are going across the distance to people who are out of state and who are here. It's a really exciting time. And today's service, ironically, even though we are in an age of busyness and trying to connect and do all these things, we also have to remember to slow down, to find that peace, to find that center, that still point where we can breathe, where we can balance. You think about the tree pose where you put your arms out, and sometimes you lean a little to the left, sometimes you lean a little to the right. But somehow, even if you have to put your foot back down, you try and find that balance. And so today we open our service with these words by Tim Haley. And I just invite you all to take a deep breath. We don't breathe enough. Take a deep breath, let it out. Slump those shoulders a little bit. You don't have to carry the weight of the world for at least this 1 hour. Amid all the noise in our lives, we take this moment to sit in silence, to give thanks for another day, to give thanks for all those in our lives who have brought us warmth and love, to give thanks for the gift of life. We know that we are on a pilgrimage here for but a brief period of time. Let us open ourselves here and now to the process of becoming more whole, of living more fully, of giving and forgiving more freely, of understanding more completely the meaning of our lives here on this earth. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. My name's Laurel Kiefer, and I invite you in the spirit of what Julie has just read to light your candle at home if you have one, or chalice, and then please join me in the words of order of service in lighting the chalice.
A walk in the woods isn't a race after all. It's not all about seeing how fast you can go or how quickly you can get to the end of the trail. A walk can be like a meditation, a series of moments to be aware of all the sights and sounds along the way. If you're in a hurry, you forget to hear the birds sing. You might not see the little mushroom growing under the tree, the one with the yellow cap. But even when you take your time, a walk can sometimes be tough going. What if it starts to rain? And what if there's a wet, soggy, boggy place where the stepping stones are few and far between? Well, in those cases, I've found a couple of things that help. First of all, it helps to have a friend or two along, because then even if it starts to pour and the raindrops are trickling down your nose, you can always sing a song together. And it's hard to feel sorry for yourself when you're singing an old Beatles song. And for those soggy, boggy places, if you can't have a friend along, there's nothing like a walking stick, which helps you keep your balance. And whether you're walking up a hill or down, makes you a little steadier on your legs. Walking sticks make me think about our faith, Unitarian Universalism, which is a little different than other religions. Because for us, life is like a long walk or a journey. It starts when we're little children, just learning about our world, and then it grows as we grow. With each step, we're always gathering more information, gaining more experiences, finding out about ourselves, and as we explore, our beliefs change. The things we imagine might be true when we're 6 years old are different from the dreams that we have when we're 60. And none of us is certain where or how the trail ends, but what we'll find when we finally reach the mountaintop. But we know that other people have walked this way before, and that gives us hope and courage to continue on the adventure. Now, just like on a long trail, life sometimes gets a little tough and can be a little scary. And that's why it helps to have friends and a spiritual community like this one. And at times we start to lose our balance and begin to fall down. And then it's handy to have a walking stick along. Unitarian Universalism, our religion, is like a walking stick. It's not a religion that solves all our problems. It's not a religion that can magically lift us over the muddy places. It's not a religion that spares us the necessity to dig deep and struggle when there's a big boulder we have to climb over or other challenges come along. But it is a religion that can help us keep our equilibrium, that helps us keep our feet in the ground, which reminds us when the going gets hard that each of us is strong. Each of us is resilient. Each of us is capable. However we identify, our gender, our ethnicity, our race, whether we're big or little. And Unitarian Universalism is a faith that encourages each of us to find and make our own beliefs. Not a one-size-fits-all religion, but one we constantly tool and retool as we go. So this is my personal rocking stick. It's actually Julia's that I borrowed. Each of you will have the opportunity to make your own stick, your own religion, just like the right size and weight, the right thickness, so you have a firm grip to help you go wherever you need to go. And so Unitarian Universalists, you too can find and make a religion you can call your own. Thank you.
So those of you at home, we did have a brief technical difficulty, and I wanted to share that reading one more time from Stephen Schick. Those here in person got to hear it, but I think it really speaks to our service today. It's called Distant Return by Stephen Schick. Here I will be discovered and lost. Here I will perhaps be stone and silence. And this is by Pablo Neruda. And Pablo Neruda is a person who speaks about religious education, who thinks about theology. Someday out there on a day like this, and the sun just started shining, yay! In a place that I will never see, where the clearing winds always come after the storm, I will arrive nameless on a distant memory, carrying with me all the best I give back to this earth, all the hope that I found scattered by others along the road I traveled, all the courage that came unexpectedly when you took my hand and we cried for those we could not save, all the love that exposed the lies that I told myself about who I was and what I was meant to do, all the faith that came to me when I saw others carry these things into the future. So I think one of the things about having your own walking stick, and I want to get my walking stick, is that it makes us feel a little more secure when we're on our journey. I come from Georgia, where you walk down a trail and there's going to be snakes and spiders, and so to have a walking stick is kind of nice. You can kind of make a lot of noise, you can make sure your feet are steady, and it also causes me to slow down. When I was young, I would run through the woods practically barefoot, and it terrifies me to think, I would jump over snakes. And now that I am in my mid-40s, heading towards late 40s, I have to move a little slower than I did. And it's also good for my body, good for my life. And so recently on last Sunday, I took a small retreat at the Christine Center. And this is about an hour south of Eau Claire. And if you've never been there, it's completely beautiful. It's just, you go down this road and it's not very developed. And then you think you might be lost, and then suddenly you're there. And they have all these little cabins. And I stayed at a hermitage that was supposedly a rough hermitage, but it had a fireplace, so it was really nice. And to be able to sit in silence without picking my children up from school. Of course, now Kendra's at college, so I just pick them up once every 2 weeks. But not having those interruptions of email and phone, and I really got anxious. I didn't know what to do with myself, which sounds ironic, but I was in this retreat and I thought, well, what's happening? What's going on that I'm missing? And then I kind of laughed, and I'm realizing that I'm missing what's happening right now in this present moment. And that's what's so ironic, is sometimes we have to go away from ourselves and away from our ordinary spaces to remember to be present where we are. And that stillness and that slowness is ours to reclaim when we pay attention. And there is a wonderful Buddhist writer, Pema Chodron, and she has a book called Start Where You Are. And that is definitely one of my favorite books. It's one that I go back to and I'll reread. And I want to find what she says here. She explains the reason that we are often not there in moments for ourselves and not for others is in matters of compassion. She writes, because we escape, we miss being right here on the dot. We keep missing the moment that we're in. Yet if we can experience that moment that we're in, we discover that it is unique, precious, and completely fresh. It never happens twice. There's nothing more vast or absolute. And Pema Chodron makes the radical claim that indeed there is nothing more. And I think back, now that I have a kid launched into college, and people said this to me all the time, enjoy the moment that you're in. And, I think I can just, it's like you can flash back to, the first word, the first walk, the bike ride, and even going further back to my own life, it seems like just yesterday I was running through those South Carolina woods. And I think all of us can be nostalgic for what used to be or what might be. But I'm here right now, I live in this body, and I have the ability to connect with people and to hear music. I was telling Rob Kutta that I was so happy. I went to the farmer's market on Saturday and I heard this klezmer band. I had no idea that he was in it, but then I ran into Emily Moore, who was walking by, and she said, yeah, Rob is playing in that. So I went back and I watched him, and then I ran into a few other UUs at the farmer's market. And then later on, I got to do some ice dyeing with our wonderful Patty Cleary and some other UUs, and it's these, and then the day was beautiful. It was going to be this gray, kind of cruddy day. I was like, oh, and the sun just came out, and it was just, it filled me with gratitude. And it sounds all very ordinary, but if I had been staring at my phone like I often am, or flipping through Facebook like I often am, I might have missed that music or missed that moment. Choosing awareness takes practice, and just like compassion, we have to practice being nice to ourselves, paying attention to when our shoulders are tight or when we're stressed, and kind of dialing back that anxiousness with those practices of yoga, or I used to do martial arts, and my body says no to that now, but it's the same thing. It's that focus, that balance. I think one of the things that reminds us that we need to slow down is when we can't find what's up and down. You know, I get flustered and I get worried, and then I'm like, do I need to be stressed out about this particular thing? Is it really that important? And sometimes it is. You know, I might be worried about somebody who's sick or something that's happening. But that's another thing that can really help us slow down is perspective. And I don't know if you heard this the astronauts that went into space recently, there was a young woman who had been a childhood cancer survivor, and she said she had such gratitude for being, of course, surviving childhood cancer, but when she went up into space and looked down at our fragile little blue planet, she said it completely changed her life, and even more than that, and realized the work of sustainability that she wanted to dedicate her life to. And so coming back to Earth and, being an example for people, but we can't all go up to space to have perspective. But maybe just, stepping away from your computer and taking a deep breath, or going for a walk in your neighborhood, or doing an online or in-person yoga class. So small steps. So one of the things that was really powerful during my time at the Christine Center was that there were these trails, and I'm really afraid of ticks because ticks are kind of scary, but I knew that if I wore my hat and my sleeves and my things, I'd be fine. And I was really excited because it was kind of wet on the ground, and they had these boards that you could walk on. It was not like your typical well-funded state park boardwalk. These were little 2x4s, or I'm probably using the wrong planks, and they were built probably by a random, somebody they got to build them. But walking on them was a bit like walking on a balance beam, and this was a pretty long trail. And so my sense of direction is terrible. So I was out here by myself in the woods. I did not have my walking stick. And I was walking on these balance beams. And I was just walking, and I couldn't go very fast. And so I would noticed a woodpecker because I didn't walk so fast. And I noticed the shape of a tree that looked kind of like a little fairy house, like it might have hidden magical things in it or something. And I kept going really slow, and I noticed the pattern of the leaves coming down. And it was all these little noticings and being present. And it was like it forced me to be in my body and to be present. And for some of you, you run, you bicycle, or you have practices that can really put you in your body and in your breath. And I think that's a real gift. I think during COVID, many of us found practices, either art or exercise or expression, to help us move away from the stress of the pandemic and to slow down and to be entertained, because we were alone so much sometimes. And I think also the pandemic taught us to slow down in a different way than we might have before. Some people did have less going on in their lives, and some people had much more going on in their lives during the pandemic, but it still had us in a different relationship to time. Like, we didn't go to meetings in person every night, or some people didn't have to commute an hour or two to work every day, or things just were different. We would drop things on each other's porches, maybe write letters. I reconnected with old friends that were in Atlanta who my kids, when they were little, played with, and I would have an hour conversation on Zoom, and that, to me, it felt different. And so I think many of us feel like we're going to re-enter the world and go back to the way things were, but we're different. We're all different. Our organizations might be different. Our lives might be different. And while that's hard, it might give us something powerful to reflect upon. What is it that really matters? How do I want to spend my time? How do I want to connect my life with meaning? And so to slow down doesn't mean that we don't have a lot going on. It just means that we're choosing how to engage with it. You think about the life of the Buddha. He was born this prince, he was showered with luxury, and he could have just kept going. But instead, he chose to become an ascetic and did all these different practices trying to figure out how to find enlightenment. And so now in this post-pandemic time, maybe we put away our puzzles and our baking, but what is it that is important to us? Maybe you haven't had a chance to sing because of this darn pandemic. We miss our congregational singing and our choir, but maybe you can take voice lessons or, sing outside to each other. It's how can we find a way to move forward instead of just missing the way things used to be or hoping for some distant future, because we live right now. And so there's a book called Praise of Slowness, and it's a really great book because it's counterintuitive. We're told to move fast, get with it, do all the things. So it's by Carl Honor, and he says, the problem is that our love for speed, our obsession with doing more and more in less time has gone too far. It has turned into an addiction, a kind of identity. Even the speed starts to backfire. We invoke the go faster gospel. Falling behind at work, get a quicker internet connection. No time for that novel you got at Christmas? Learn to speed read. Diet not working? Try liposuction. Not really. Too busy to cook? Buy a microwave. Yet some things you cannot nor should be sped up. They take time. They need slowness. So when you accelerate things that should not be accelerated, when you forget how to slow down, there is a price to pay. And it makes me really sad how much I've missed because I move so fast sometimes. And I get caught up in my ego about what's important and that things surely can't operate without my being connected to the email immediately. I have to answer that email, or I have to know. And instead, Maybe I have to find balance. Maybe I have to find my breath. Maybe I have to take a moment and call my dad. There's power in that. So I hope this week, this month, this time of fall, as things start to slow down, it's really hot compared to most falls, but we often get more cozy. The winter kind of slows us down. Maybe we can watch the leaves and take lessons from letting go of the things that we want to let go. There's some wisdom from the Tao Te Ching. In the pursuit of knowledge every day, something is added. In the practice of the Tao, every day something is dropped. Less and less you need to force things until you finally arrive at non-action. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. True mastery can be gained by letting things go their way. It can't be gained by interfering. That's a lesson that I haven't found yet, but I like the idea that I don't have to control everything. And I truly can't control everything. I think that we all want to have mastery over things that are outside of that. So may the force be with you. May the ki be with you. May the balance be with you. May the yoga be with you. And I hope you'll find your walking stick, whatever it looks like, so that you can go on your own slow journeys to finding meaning. Thank you.
We are so excited about our 50/50 Share the Plate recipient for October, which is Round Table Revival. Our order of service has a scan code you can scan to donate, or you can text 84321. We aren't passing around baskets currently during this pandemic time, but you can donate in the back in the gathering room. With gratitude for the abundance in our lives, we give to help people in need and to support the work of this congregation. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Thanks.
Thank you, Fred, for sharing your music. Really appreciate that. For those of you at home who have lit a candle, now's the time in our service to extinguish the chalice flame. For those of you that are here and at home, please join me in reading the words for extinguishing the flame from our order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our closing words come from Reverend Scott Taylor. May we remember that we never walk out into the world alone. We stand on the shoulders of brave and generous ones who have gone before. We walk beside companions ready to catch us when we fall. We hold memories of dear ones in our hearts who keep us connected to our center. May we make this our most important work, to remember that who we are does not end at the edges of our own skin.